Now, one very lucky Irish punter, or hopefully, and I say that in the best possible way, that a group of lucky Irish punters are waking up this morning €175 million richer after winning last night's Euro Millions jackpot. The win makes it the 14th Irish Euro Millions win since the game was launched back in 2004.
Joining us to discuss this and the other stories making the news this morning is Ellen Gunning, Director of the Irish Academy of Public Relations. But before we chat to Ellen, we're joined on the line by Miriam Donoghue from the National Lottery. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, Sinead. How are you? Quite
the morning from you. What can you tell us about last night's win?
Yeah, Sinead, well, we don't have much more to tell, except it's just stunning news that we have an Irish person waking up this morning €175 million richer. This is the highest ever win in the history of the National Lottery in 31 years. The last highest winner was Dolores McNamara, who won Euro Millions back in 2005, and she won €115 million. So we have a lot of procedures and processes to go through in the next couple of days. We won't be in a position to announce the shop that sold the winning ticket for a couple of days, and as soon as we can, we will let everybody know. But meanwhile, it's really important, if anyone is watching in and they actually are holding this golden ticket, the first thing is to sign the back of the ticket, which is really important. Keep it in a safe place and call us as soon as you can, and we'll guide the winner through the claims process. And also, Sinead, it's important to say to that person, don't panic, because it's very exciting, but it's a huge shock, if you can imagine, to know that you've come into this amount of money. So stay calm, surround yourself with trusted friends and family, and we will also be advising whoever the winner is to get really good, sound, independent legal and financial advice. But it's wonderful news. We're absolutely delighted here in Lotto HQ.
It's an unbelievably life-changing amount of money. Should the person or the people who have won tell other people at this stage?
Look, that's completely up to themselves, Sinead. We never advise people whether they should share the news, whether they should go public or otherwise. We always respect their wishes. So I would just say to them to be sensible, to stay calm. The focus of the media will be on them also, and we're here to help support them in that regard. So, it's going to be probably overwhelming for whoever it is, but I would just advise them to, stay calm, and we will give them all the support and advice that we possibly can when they get in touch with us.
Great. OK, thanks very much for joining us, Miriam, and best of luck over the next couple of days. It'll be a busy one for you as well.
Thank you, Sinead.
Now, we're joined by Ellen Gunning. Good morning, Ellen.
Morning.
Right. Look, we've had this scenario before, not quite with as much money, obviously, and Miriam has to be very careful in what she says about, the advice that she would give out. But every fibre in my body would be screaming at that person, just on the off chance they're listening this morning. Say nothing and keep saying it as long as you can. I know you want to tell your friends, your family and relatives and all the rest of it, but don't, because your life is never going to be the same again, and hopefully in a better way. But it may not necessarily work out like that, so be very, very careful.
I remember reading at some stage about somebody who won the lotto quite a few years ago, and it was at the time when everybody wrote to people, and they said that they could not find the letters from their friends because they had sacks and sacks and sacks of letters from people who just wanted help. Some genuinely, some scam artists. Their life changed in a blink. I'd be inclined to entirely agree with you. I would say nothing. I would try to figure out how I could contact the lotto people and say very quietly, give me my options. So how do I actually put the ticket somewhere safe? How do I make sure the money is in a deposit somewhere safe? How do I talk to somebody? I don't think I'd go public. Now, I should say that I'm not the lotto winner because I never buy a lotto ticket.
Well, you're here as well.
but in case any of my family won, I love you all. I think what you would need to do is get some really good financial advice, because that amount of money...
Really good legal advice.
And very good legal advice, because that amount of money allows you to change your own lifestyle, to change the lifestyle of the people around you. But it also gives you an opportunity to do good. And I think that's the bit that I'd be really interested in, because 175 million is too much money. It would allow you to set up some sort of a foundation where you could determine, look, this is the area I'm really interested in, so this is where I'd like the money to be put to good use, but not to give it away. To actually do it in a structured way, so that somebody said the money really is going to what you want it to go to, and here are the reports back to show how it's being used. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for somebody.
Well, look, somebody's very, very happy, and we wish them all the very best with it. Somebody who isn't too happy, although the day's probably going to be okay for them, is Simon Harris. He will be facing a vote of no confidence. Now, the numbers obviously would determine this, and he, you know, it's not going to pass. But it's going to be a rough day for him.
It's going to be a rough day for him, and what I'm curious about is the Fianna Fáil, what Fianna Fáil has said about the vote for Simon Harris. It's been suggested or been put forward by Sinn Féin. It's being supported by everybody on the opposition side, but Fianna Fáil have said that, I think they called it national sabotage, if they voted to a vote of no confidence in Simon Harris. I just think it's an extraordinary way to look at it. They're saying that because of the confidence and supply agreement, they have to abstain. They won't vote confidence in him, but they have to abstain. I just don't understand that. The entire country is furious, particularly about this children's hospital. And this has come on the back of the cervical cancer. So the Minister has a lot to answer for.
But is getting Simon Harris's head going to make any difference to that?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
And in fact, if you take him out, a new minister's got to go in and then read themselves into that brief, it delays the whole thing even longer,
and for that reason, I don't think it's national sabotage. I don't think the government will fall. I think the government would stay there. I think the curious thing is that Simon Harris has said he's doing the best he can do. The Taoiseach is standing behind him. I just find the language of Fianna Fáil unusual. I think I would have preferred if they had said, yes, the country is angry and we're not happy with them, but we're going to abstain because really we don't think changing a minister would make more sense. I don't think it's national sabotage if you change the minister.
Fianna Fáil
it's just the language.
Well, they're looking at the Brexit thing, but I don't think, are they understanding the people's anger enough about the Children's Hospital overrun? I think people aren't quite clear where if the Children's Hospital is in the place it should be. They're not sure why the money is being spent. So are Fianna Fáil over-egging the Brexit thing and not understanding people's anger enough around the Children's Hospital?
Yeah, I think they really don't want to bring down the government. I don't think that Taoiseach could allow the government to fall, to be honest. I think if Simon Harris lost the vote, he would have to replace his Minister for Health. So Fianna Fáil are kind of using Brexit as a cloak, if you like. But I think the country is furious, and I think what the country is furious about is it's not Simon Harris. He happens to be the face of health. It's the fact that nobody seems to be responsible for this enormous overrun, and everybody knew something was going wrong, but nobody did anything about it. And it's really hard to see whose head is going to roll for it. And when the Taoiseach came out quite a while back and he said, was it sometime last week, and he said if it's lowballing by contractors, I thought BAM were very quick to come out and say, they sent him a letter and said, make it very clear it's not us, and then said, look, we'll step back from the whole process, you can re-tender it again. We're not lowballing. And now they're saying, well, maybe it's the consultants who didn't actually get it right and didn't know how much it would cost. I think people are just annoyed that for that amount of money, somebody should know what's going on. Nobody seems to.
But when there are institutional cock-ups of that size, nobody ever pays the price. Well, sorry, that's not true. We pay the price because it's taxpayers' money.
If it's a private organisation, somebody's head will roll. You wouldn't be in a job, I wouldn't be in a job if we got it wrong. If it's institutional, we're just told that somebody's moved around. It will never happen again. New structures are in place. People are just angry until it happens again.
Now, there is some good. I mean, look, we hear the words Project Fear, and it's used usually in the context of UK and the scare tactics that are going on over there, right? But there is a Project Fear going on here too, as well. Is that Brexit's going to be incredibly bad for us, and it's going to cost us hundreds. It could ruin our agriculture and agri-food business. There's a very good article in the Times this morning saying that Project Fear, actually, we might not need to worry as much. And one of the signs of that, a positive move, is that pensioners who were worried about what was going to happen, because there's 130,000 people in this country who receive pensions from the UK, and I think about 30 or 40,000 Irish people getting them from the Irish government. A deal's been done at the highest level between the two governments, and you think, well, if they can organise that, why can't they get the other stuff together?
I think this is the good news bit of the government. We've been giving out about them in the last piece. I think they've really got this right. I think they've been planning. By all accounts, what we can see at the moment shows they've been planning for a very long time. They know that if there is a bad Brexit, they have all of this legislation, all of these deals in place. Simon Coveney, was it, who brought the deal to Cabinet yesterday, a piece of legislation which covers 16 different areas, 9 different departments, and all sorts of things that you wouldn't even think of. I was reading yesterday that they need a piece of legislation which allows sick children in the north of Ireland to continue to access paediatric care here in the south. They need legislation to cover students, Irish students who are studying in the UK, because they're being grant aided by Susie. So they need to legislate for them to be paid for a non-EU country, to study in a non-EU country. Coveney again said yesterday he's worried that people will start stockpiling medicines because apparently we get all of our medicines from the UK, and that will stop because they'll no longer be a member of the EU, so they're not controlled by the same regulations or whatever. But he's saying, look, we're fine until the end of March. Don't stockpile. We have things in place. So I think they've actually been doing a really good job of planning in the background. And in fact, the UK, was it 6 months ago or more, when they were asked by people in Northern Ireland how should they plan for Brexit, they said talk to the Irish government. They seem to have it all in hand. So I think this is one thing they really are on top of.
And let's hope the UK have done some similar planning in the same couple of months. But I think
hope
that's,
springs eternal,
yes.
doesn't it?
Thank you very much for joining
Cheers,
us
Alan.
this morning, Alan. Now, there's plenty more to come on Ireland AM, so we'll be back shortly after this break.